to revoke the permit for 1 year. Permit was revoked. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 1 no. Motion passed. So with that, we conclude the hearing. Do we need a motion to go out of the hearing? No. We can just move on to the next item of business. Thank you for your time, Max. Okay, the next item. Scott, do you have anything else to add, or?
No.
Chief Johnson, anything else to add? Would anyone like to make a motion?
So moved.
The motion is to approve the draft as presented.
Correct.
And that's a motion by Mary and a second by Carl. Karen.
I had just one question under item C, outside agency investigator responsibilities. Number 2, H3, the very last item on that page, that the officers involved will be interviewed by the assigned investigators and will not be required to submit a written report. Is that the officer involved or the assigned investigator?
Could you repeat the number and
It
letters?
is item C, C2, H3. Outside agency investigator responsibilities.
Okay. I wish these were numbers. Outside agency investigator responsibilities. Number 2.
H,
Letter H.
number 3, the very last item. I just had a question about not having a written report.
So this is if an outside agency needs to be brought in.
That was my question, does that reference the outside assigned investigator or the officer involved?
So it would, my understanding is that if there was an officer involved shooting or something like that, the officer is completely out of it at that point. An outside investigation, outside agency will come in and investigate. So instead of the officer sitting down and writing his report out, he's going to be interviewed by the investigating officer. So he doesn't have to submit his own report, just his statement.
Thank you. Yeah, that was just a clarification that I wanted.
Sorry, yeah. And I will add one thing to that, that the reason that this is required, the statute that was passed to require this policy, does require a second outside investigation from a second agency. So that's why this was added on to it.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted that clarification. Okay, thank you.
Good question, thank you.
Question for the chief.
Carl, go ahead.
You're in agreement with this?
Yes.
Is there any other discussion or questions? Seeing none? Oh, Laura?
Member, would you repeat your concerns from earlier about not being de-escalation training? Is that
So
where we want to see?
my question was that I wasn't sure if this would be the place where we would see mention of de-escalation training. And since this specifically just deals with the use of force, it doesn't deal with the prior to the use of force here. That's not where this would be. And then the chief affirmed that de-escalation training is a part already of the training that they go through. I'm not sure if it's mentioned in other parts of the policy at all, but this, apparently would not be the place where that would be listed. This is just addressing the use of force itself.
Thank you for the clarification.
Absolutely. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, moving on to discussion and action on boost control activities in the West End Park and Treatment Plant area. This is tab 4 of your packet. My understanding is that this, and as the administrator has laid out in his memo, this has been a controversial and troublesome topic over the years. The policy that was approved last year is what we're looking at approving again for this year. We're a little behind schedule with the process. However, we still have some time to address the issue. Again, my understanding is that there isn't a tremendous problem this year of resident geese, and so it should be able to be taken care of still this year with the current policy. And I would entertain a motion on this proposal. Tom?
I have one question. I have a neighbor by the name of Ethan Robinson, who lives next door to me, works for USDA Animal Control. And he has asked about if he could get involved with this goose hunt. Because they've been contracted out before by the city of Ashland, where they've used their cannon nets and have relocated geese.
So before we go there, I guess I'm looking just for a motion specifically on what's on our agenda currently, and then that might be something that we could discuss further than as far as the process.
I make a motion that we move forward with this goose harvest, the same as we did in 2019.
I'll second that.
Okay, so that's a motion by Mary, and it was a second by Tom. Karen?
I just have one question. I see that under the protocol that public notice would be posted at the registration in the restrooms, and then the next item talks about the campground host and seasonal campers will be notified. And I guess my question is, what form will that notification take place? How will that be done for the hosts and the seasonal campers?
I spoke with the host today about that, to let them know that this was on the agenda tonight. I can't remember what we did last year with the seasonal campers. I think we just issued them a letter as such after it passed.
And just to add to that, it has been posted all season.
That's correct.
That these are the dates that goose control will occur. So that's been posted for the entire summer, and also on the website, on the campground page.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So I guess one clarification is if, like Tom was saying, there's someone else who could participate, is that part up for discussion, or is that's not necessarily a part of the motion? I think that was just part of the memo, talking about who would carry it out. So is that something that Tom could just talk with the chief about
So
theoretically, or?
to address that issue, if there is a different method, we have used netting in the past, and there was a cost to the city in the past, but if there is a proposal to do this, I would suggest that proposal be provided so that it can be considered. Right now, I don't have any details regarding that. So that's what I would suggest going for the future. I think we are probably going to be a little late for this season, but it's certainly something that could be considered well in advance for the next season.
Very good.
So,
Thank you.
Do you find that geese...
Can you speak up a little,
Oh,
please?
sorry. Do you see that the geese in the wastewater treatment plant, are they not, I mean, obviously they're a nuisance, but are they also the nuisance on the beach, or is it mostly geese on the beach area that kind of just maintain residence at the beach?
In the past, there have been geese at both locations. This year, we have not observed geese, at least not a number of geese at the treatment plant, but there have been a small number of geese consistently through the summer at West End Park.
Chief?
I didn't have, I was going to answer, he answered.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
Has there been any discussion of the marina, Carl, being involved in any of this? The geese are really bad at the marina this year. I mean, I know like in terms of at least looking and addling the eggs. Any thoughts on that?
I don't think any are nesting in the marina. I think the geese that are in the marina, that show up in the marina are probably the same ones that are in the West End Park. I think they move back and forth.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure if there was any nests there or not, but there's definitely been an increase.
I was told that there were some nests in that area, but it was after I'd already addled the eggs this year and I wasn't aware of them, so that would definitely be a place I'd check next year.
So at this time, we're not authorizing a goose population control measure to be taken at the marina, correct? We're just focusing on the West End Park and possibly the water treatment plant locations, correct?
To be perfectly clear, this is shooting the geese.
Right.
So,
So we're not shooting the geese at the marina.
correct. However, if we would, in the spring is when we would addle eggs, and if we would observe that, we will add that to our permit, which I apply for in January.
Perfect. Good, thank you for bringing that up, Jen. I think that would be good to nip it in the bud with the egg addling.
When you apply for the addling egg permit, you have to lay out specific locations.
Yes.
Where are they at West End? Where do they pitch to the nest?
They're along, actually, how I have had the permit in the past is the entire lake shore from West End to the south limits of the city. On occasion, we've had permission to go on private property to do it as well.
Do they nest on that island?
There's a nest on each island. There's a nest on the old walkway that used to go out to the long dock. And then there are two more nests to the right, towards the treatment plant along the shore there. Those are the ones that I got this year. I didn't find any others.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, moving on to discussion and action on resolution 20-012, extending the mayor's proclamation of March 17, 2020, and declaring a health emergency in the city of Washburn. This is under tab 5.
So moved.
I would second that motion.
A motion by Mary and a second by Karen. Just to clarify, this was extended once so that it has not expired. It says here that it expired 4 months from the beginning, and we did extend it once already, but now it's set to expire again. So that's why we need to do this. Scott, did you have something?
Just note that there's a typo on the top of the second page. First line going into the second line, we'll just remove 3 words, for to run. We had a language change there, but those 3 words should come out as well. So.
Thank you. Is there any other question or discussion on this motion? So this is to approve the resolution extending the emergency, health emergency until it is either declared over by the federal government or by the council at any time. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Oh, next. I think we're going to take a 5-minute bio break before we get into the budget, unless this is actually not going to take very long.
You can simply refer it and be done with it at that point.
Okay, so this isn't, we're not going to get into the details here tonight. So this next item, then I'll keep moving along, is a presentation, discussion, and referral of the 2021 general fund operating, capital, and debt service budgets. And we had a very detailed memo presenting this item, so thank you for your work explaining the background on your thought that you've given to this. I know you've given it a lot of thought, Scott. Do you have further introductions you would like to make on the issue?
Simply that if you refer it, the Personnel and Finance Committee meeting is planning to meet already tomorrow at 3 to begin reviewing it. There is going to be a number of, as we move forward, there'll be a number of the outstanding items will be clarified that I had outlined. That's typical, that always happens. We don't have all of the information exact when we put this together. And so you'll also have my recommendations. Again, the only way out of the hole is to encourage taxable development, or if you want to consider other potential sources of revenue for the city, which recreation, campgrounds, consider expansion of that. I know that's an item that was already referred. So those are the only options I see, because we will continue to cut staff and we will continue to cut services otherwise as we move along.
Understood. Tom?
There is a couple of creative things the city can do. One of them is we have the home rule, and I've talked to about 60 residents, and they said as long as whatever these taxes we discuss go into infrastructure only, they would be fine with it. And the other one would be state statute 66113, but currently there's only 6 cities in the state of Wisconsin under that, and I do believe we meet one of the criteria is that 40% of the income is derived from tourism. That would be where we could create a food and beverage tax, and that only runs from 0.5% to 1.25%. The highest I saw was 1.25%.
If I could address that, I'm not sure actually if we do qualify. What the statute is, what Mr. Nymus is referring to is the Premier Resort Tax, which is a 0.5% sales tax that would be assessed for all business transactions within the city. That rule is 40% of the equalized value of the city has to be traced back to businesses that are considered tourist related, as I understand it. Being that Washburn is 85% residential, I don't believe that we're going to make that consideration. The other item that Mr. Nymus brought up, I believe is a possibility, would be the consideration of a wheel tax or transportation utility. I had provided the council members last year with some of that information, but basically that is an extra fee on vehicle registrations within the city of Washburn.
So I'm going to say that I think that, again, is a separate issue to what we're looking at here on this particular agenda item, which is looking at referring the budget discussion to the Finance and Personnel Committee. Good to think about, absolutely. I think we do need to, as we've said, look at alternate revenue sources, absolutely. But for this particular item, I would entertain a motion to refer it to the Personnel and Finance. Mary?
Second.
Motion by Mary, I think I heard Laura with the second first. So the motion is to refer this to the Personnel and Finance Committee. Is there any other question or discussion on that item? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. With duly noting the ideas that Mr. Nyman brought up. Next item is the discussion and action on the contract with Bomar Appraisal, Inc. for the 2021 and 2022 assessor services. That is tab 7. There's a motion by McGrath. And a second by Grover. To approve the contract as presented for Bomar Appraisal. Does anyone have any questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we already addressed tab 8, and so our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Scott, I have a question. Is it possible to get a public-private agreement, like to say, like that part, talk about putting 10